What happens when a leader's path diverges from the light, steering a nation into the shadows of infamy and moral decay? This question lies at the heart of our exploration into the lives of four of Israel's most notorious kings: Ahab, Rehoboam, Manasseh, and Ahaz. These figures, immortalized in Scripture for their egregious departures from divine commandments, offer a compelling study of power, corruption, and the profound consequences of spiritual abandonment. Each king, in his turn, played a pivotal role in not only undermining the ethical foundations of their society but also in precipitating a spiritual crisis that would echo through the annals of history. As we delve into the narratives of these rulers, we uncover tales of idolatry, betrayal, and unrestrained ambition that not only shaped the fate of their people, but also tested the bounds of divine patience. Ahab's alliance with Jezebel and his descent into Baal worship, Rehoboam's harshness that split a kingdom, Manasseh's embrace of forbidden practices, and Ahaz's disastrous foreign entanglements serve as stark reminders of the perils of forsaking righteousness. What can we learn from the tumultuous reigns of these kings? How did their actions reverberate through the fabric of their time, and what implications do their stories hold for us today? Join us on a journey through time as we explore the dark side of leadership and the eternal quest for moral integrity and divine favor. Through their stories, we find not only cautionary tales but also the enduring hope for redemption and the reaffirmation of faith. Akabe, the seventh king of Israel, ascended to the throne in a period of political turmoil and spiritual decline, marking his reign as one of the most controversial in the biblical narrative. His marriage to Jezebel, a Phoenician princess, was a strategic alliance that introduced the worship of Baal into Israel, setting the stage for conflict and religious strife. This union was not merely a diplomatic maneuver, but a catalyst for widespread idolatry and the erosion of Yahweh worship in Israel. Akabe's reign is a testament to the complexities of leadership, where political alliances often clashed with spiritual obligations, leading to a legacy marred by apostasy and rebellion against divine commands. Under Akabe's rule, Israel saw the construction of a temple for Baal in Samaria, symbolizing the official endorsement of idolatry. This act was not just a personal failing of Akabe, but a public declaration that shifted the spiritual direction of the nation. The biblical accounts detail how Akabe's actions provoked the ire of Eliah, a prophet of Yahweh, setting the scene for dramatic confrontations that highlighted the battle between the worship of Yahweh and Baal. The incident on Mount Carmel, where Elijah challenged the prophets of Baal, was a pivotal moment that exposed the impotence of Baal and reaffirmed the power of Yahweh. Yet, despite this divine demonstration, Akabe's commitment to idolatry remained unshaken, illustrating the depth of his apostasy. Akabe's reign was also marked by social and moral decay, epitomized by the infamous incident involving Naboth's vineyard. In his quest for the vineyard, Akabe, under the influence of Jezebel, resorted to false charges and judicial murder, showcasing a disregard for justice and the rights of his subjects. This episode is often cited as a glaring example of the corruption and moral bankruptcy that characterized his rule. It was not only an act of greed, but a violation of the covenantal laws that demanded fairness and protection of property rights, reflecting a broader trend of disregard for divine statutes under Akabe's administration. The consequences of Akabe's actions were far-reaching, inviting divine judgment not only upon himself but also upon his dynasty. The prophecies against Akabe, particularly those delivered by Elijah, foretold a disastrous end for his lineage, underscoring the principle that leadership is accountable to higher spiritual and moral laws. The eventual downfall of Akabe's family served as a grim reminder of the costs associated with forsaking Yahweh for political expediency and personal gain. In reflecting on Akabe's reign, several lessons emerge for contemporary audiences. His story serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of compromising one's values and obligations for political alliances or personal ambition. The enduring relevance of Akabe's narrative lies in its exploration of the themes of power, morality, and divine justice, offering insights into the perennial struggle between faithfulness and apostasy. As we delve into the complexities of his character and the consequences of his choices, we are reminded of the enduring importance of integrity, the pursuit of justice, and the necessity of aligning leadership with divine principles. Akabe's legacy, fraught with error and defiance, challenges us to consider the impact of our actions and the spiritual legacies we leave behind. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, inherited not only the throne but also a kingdom on the brink of fragmentation. His ascent to power marked a critical juncture in the history of Israel, a test of leadership that would ultimately lead to the division of the kingdom and set a precedent for the challenges of monarchic rule. The pivotal moment of Rehoboam's reign came early, at Shechem, where he faced the Israelites who demanded relief from the heavy yoke imposed by Solomon. His response to this plea would not only seal his fate, but also the fate of the unified kingdom of Israel. Choosing to ignore the wise counsel of the older advisors who recommended leniency, Rehoboam instead heeded the advice of the younger courtiers, opting for a harsher stance. His declaration, "My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions," epitomized the folly of inexperienced leadership and disregard for the welfare of the people. This decision was not merely a misjudgment, but a catastrophic failure in understanding the delicate balance between authority and compassion necessary for governance. The immediate consequence of Rehoboam's decision was the secession of the northern tribes, leading to the establishment of the Kingdom of Israel under Jeroboam, with Rehoboam retaining control over Judah and parts of Benjamin. This division of the kingdom was a direct result of Rehoboam's inability to listen and adapt to the needs of his subjects, highlighting the importance of empathy and flexibility in leadership. The schism also underscored the fragile nature of political unity and the ease with which it can be disrupted by arrogance and insensitivity. Rehoboam's reign in Judah, though marked by this initial failure, was a period of fortification and attempts at consolidation. He strengthened the defenses of his kingdom and sought to reassert his authority. However, his efforts were continually undermined by his earlier actions and the enduring legacy of division. His reign saw continuous strife, not only with the northern kingdom but also with external powers, most notably Egypt, which invaded Judah during his 5th year. This invasion, which led to the looting of the temple and royal palace, was a humiliating blow to Rehoboam's rule and a testament to the vulnerabilities of a divided and weakened kingdom. The spiritual state of Judah under Rehoboam also suffered. The king's leadership did little to discourage the people from engaging in practices that were abhorrent to their covenant with Yahweh. The high places, Asherah poles, and male shrine prostitutes mentioned in the biblical narrative reflect a departure from the faith and practices that had been central to the identity of the people of Israel. This moral and spiritual decline further exacerbated the challenges facing Rehoboam, contributing to the overall portrayal of his reign as one of failure and missed opportunities. Reflecting on Rehoboam's story, several key lessons emerge. His reign serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of poor decision-making, the critical importance of wise counsel, and the dangers of arrogance and inflexibility in leadership. Moreover, it highlights the profound impact of leadership on the unity and spiritual direction of a community. In the modern context, Rehoboam's narrative reminds us of the need for leaders to be attentive to the voices of their constituents, to value wisdom over power, and to prioritize the common good above personal ambition or legacy. Through his failures, we learn the value of humility, the necessity of seeking wise counsel, and the importance of governing with a heart attuned to the needs and welfare of the people. Manasseh's reign over Judah is often cited as one of the darkest chapters in the kingdom's history, a period characterized by deep spiritual apostasy and moral decline. Ascending the throne at a young age, Manasseh's rule spanned over 5 decades, during which he systematically reversed the religious reforms of his father Hezekiah, and led Judah into a period of idolatry and sin unprecedented in its scope and severity. Central to Manasseh's infamy was his reintroduction of idolatrous practices, including the worship of Baal and Asherah, alongside a host of other deities from the surrounding nations. The biblical account details the construction of altars for these gods within the very precincts of the Temple of Yahweh, an act that symbolized the ultimate betrayal of the covenantal relationship between Yahweh and his people. Moreover, Manasseh's reign was marked by the use of divination, witchcraft, and even the horrifying practice of child sacrifice, further evidencing his complete departure from the faith of his ancestors. The consequences of Manasseh's actions were profound, not only for the moral and spiritual fabric of Judah, but also in terms of the divine judgment that his reign provoked. According to Scripture, his practices elicited the wrath of Yahweh, leading to the pronouncement of inevitable disaster upon Jerusalem and Judah, a prediction of the exile that would eventually befall the kingdom as a result of its continued disobedience and apostasy. Manasseh's story is a stark reminder of the impact of leadership on a nation's spiritual direction and moral health. His example underscores the dangers of forsaking divine commands in favor of personal ambition or the allure of foreign influences. In reflecting upon his reign, we are reminded of the importance of faithfulness, the consequences of sin, and the possibility of redemption, as later accounts suggest Manasseh may have repented toward the end of his life. His legacy serves as a cautionary tale about the depths to which individuals and communities can fall when they turn away from their guiding principles and values. Ahaz's reign over Judah is notorious for its embrace of idolatry and the rejection of Yahweh's commandments. Taking the throne during a period of political and military crises, Ahaz's choices further destabilized an already fragile kingdom. Unlike his forebears, he pursued alliances with foreign powers, notably Assyria, and adopted their pagan practices, including the worship of Baal. Most egregious was his act of altering the sacred temple's design in Jerusalem, installing pagan altars modeled after those seen in Damascus, symbolizing a profound departure from the worship of Yahweh. This king's actions not only reflected personal apostasy, but also led the people of Judah astray, encouraging idol worship that was explicitly forbidden. The biblical narrative highlights the construction of high places and altars in every corner of Jerusalem and in other parts of Judah, facilitating widespread idolatry. Ahaz's reign is marked by the sacrilege of the temple's sanctity, including engaging in the abominable practice of child sacrifice, an act that defied the core values of the Hebrew faith and morality. The ramifications of Ahaz's reign were dire, with Judah facing not only internal decay, but also increased vulnerability to external threats. His reliance on Assyria for protection instead led to Judah's subjugation and tribute, diminishing the kingdom's sovereignty and further compromising its spiritual integrity. Ahaz's story is a cautionary tale about the perils of forsaking divine guidance for political expediency and personal gain. It underscores the importance of leadership that upholds and respects foundational spiritual values, reminding us of the long-term consequences of neglecting such principles. The tales of Ahab, Rehoboam, Manasseh, and Ahaz serve as profound lessons in leadership, spirituality, and the consequences of forsaking moral and divine principles. Each king, through his own failings and choices, led his kingdom into periods of strife, idolatry, and moral decay, illustrating the critical impact of leadership on the direction and fate of a nation. Their reigns remind us of the dangers inherent in the pursuit of power, the allure of foreign influences, and the abandonment of ethical standards. These stories, while ancient, carry timeless warnings about the importance of integrity, the pursuit of justice, and the need for leaders to remain true to foundational values and principles. They highlight the significance of accountability, not just to the people, but to higher moral and spiritual laws. The decline of Israel and Judah under these kings underscores a universal truth: leadership that disregards the welfare of its people, that indulges in personal gain at the expense of communal values, inevitably leads to downfall and despair. In reflecting on these narratives, we're invited to consider our own times and the leaders we choose to follow. The lessons of Ahab, Rehoboam, Manasseh, and Ahaz encourage us to seek out and support leaders who demonstrate moral courage, who prioritize the common good, and who uphold principles of justice and righteousness. As we navigate the complexities of our modern world, let us draw wisdom from these ancient tales, recognizing the enduring relevance of their cautionary messages for ensuring a just, moral, and prosperous society.